So this is one of my first little projects using Angular. Used a bit of React in the past. Definitely was a learning curve. This was a project with Cook Systems Fast Track. They had most of the bones of this already set up and a whole API set up with Node Express talking to GitHub's API, but we needed to implement the logic in Angular to display any GitHub user. My name is Kieran, but that's not me. He beat me to that username. There's me. Oops. Just a annoying little alert for invalid username. And yeah, you can get anybody. It only shows fields that come back with data or zeros. I thought this was kind of funny. Favorite language, Ruby. So pretty much two things you can do. You can just check people out or come over here and duel them. I've got it set up to just take the sum of all those fields, like favorited repos or highest stars, followers, all those, and whoever has the highest sum wins. And just to make sure it flips, yep. Is there a Josh J? Oh yeah. Yep. And those the alerts on here too. Could definitely make that better, but just want to get the functionality working. It's pretty fun. Here's the code. So we're mostly working with like 3 components in a service. So first we'll talk about the user card. The user card is this card right here that gets filled with information. This is the user card component. Here's the TypeScript for it. We are using let's see, yep, I'm importing a user interface I created in the user service, and we're populating this user based on the parent that's calling it, which is both the duel and the inspect component, which we'll look at in a sec. Here's the HTML. A lot of ng ifs because I want everything to be blank before they're populated, and I want to include zeros. So that's the user card. Now the inspect component is this page. Here's the HTML. You can see it's mainly just calling the user card, but we got the button and the inspect. Yeah, the inspect button and the input field on top of that. Here's the logic for that. Click the button. This username equals the value of that input field. And on submit, when you type into the input field, the username equals what you're typing. When you submit, when you click the inspect button, we use our user service class then. Over here, there's a simple GET request with this injected HTTP client, and then we handle the observer here by subscribing to it. I'm still a bit new to all of that. It took me a while, a lot of guessing and checking and searching online, but I'm starting to like it. Yeah, and then yeah, you can see user equals user for the user card right here. Initially, it's just an empty object. Now let's get into the duel component, which is over here. We're rendering 2 card components down here. So we're pretty much doing the same thing as the inspect component, but we have 2 users this time. So we're making 2 calls to that user service, inspect user function, and then setting user 1 to the first call, user 2 to the result of the second call. And then when we call our cards, this is where I suspect it might be a little funky. I could probably make this a lot better. It seems a bit hacky, but got our button and everything, and then got a container just for some styling, but we're saying we're going to render 2 cards, and the first card is going to be user 1, second card is going to be user 2 each time, no matter what. This count variable, where is that user? Yeah. So count, I did have it as a Boolean at first, true, false, whether they won or not, but I had a little emoji on top of their card if they didn't win, and that was showing up on my inspect page as well, and I didn't want that. So I just made this variable count that can either be 0, 1, 2. 0 is no symbol on top of the card, nothing. 1 is you lost, so it's an X. 2 is you won. So if all these things, all those fields that determine the winner, if user 1 wins, then we render this. We set count to 2, which means they won, and then the user 2 lost, so we set the count to 1. By default, it's set to 0, so that's why on the inspect page, it doesn't render anything on top of the card. No emoji, as you can see here. That's where we're handling that count. So otherwise, I tried messing with an else, ng else, and then having this as a ng template, but it's getting some weird styling going on, so I just thought it'd be easier to kind of brute force the same thing, but the inverse of it. So it's the same thing, just flipped. User 1 loses, user 2 wins. So yeah, I'm happy with it. It was a lot worse yesterday, and then I made it quite a bit better. Code-wise, functionality remained the same. But I want to keep this short. 7 minutes. Oof. Yeah, okay. Yeah.